The first weird thing about a free trial is that it still wants your card, not your curiosity, not your email, not a polite handshake with the product. Your card. The page says $0 today, which sounds harmless because 0 is a very persuasive number for something that is not technically finished being expensive. And you are not being stupid here. You are just making the classic deal with your future self, I will try this now, and that responsible little legend can cancel it later. But the card is the clue. The company is not only giving you a sample, it is building a payment path for the day the sample stops being free. So the real question is not, why is this free? The real question is why the company is so confident you will still be there when free quietly becomes paid. Now obviously, trying something before paying for it is not automatically evil. A free trial can be useful. Streaming, fitness apps, language apps, cloud tools, delivery memberships. Sometimes you genuinely need to poke the thing before giving it money. Very radical consumer behavior. Testing the product. The clean version is simple. You know what you are checking, you know when the trial ends, and you know what would make it worth paying for. In that version, the trial is basically a sample with paperwork. The problem starts when Try It Free removes the tiny pain of starting, but leaves the important part floating in a foggy little calendar cloud called later, because later is not a plan. It is just optimism wearing a fake mustache. And if the trial were only a sample, it would end cleanly. But most of the time, the strange part is that it keeps going unless you actively stop it. The official name for this little magic trick is a negative auction, which is a very polite way of saying, if you do nothing, the business can treat that nothing as permission to charge you. Not, yes, I would love to pay forever. More like, you failed to escape before the timer finished. Very inspiring consent architecture. And to be fair, that does not automatically make the trial illegal. US rules have already expected clear disclosure and express informed consent before charging someone's financial account, since Ross K in 2010. The FTC's own consumer advice frames the problem pretty plainly. Continued billing has to be clear, and cancellation cannot be difficult or basically impossible. Which means this is not just you being dramatic, because the language app took your lunch money. Regulators recognize the shape of the problem. The sign-up says, try, the system says, continue, and your silence gets promoted to a billing instruction. But naming the mechanism does not explain why it works so well. For that, we have to leave legal language and look at human attention. This is where 0 starts doing something suspicious. Behavioral researchers call it the zero price effect. 0 is not just a smaller number. It changes the feeling of the choice. A discount asks you to decide whether the thing is worth less money. Free politely removes the part where your brain has to defend spending anything at all. Very convenient. The wallet does not scream, the card does not visibly bleed, and your hesitation gets escorted out by a tiny bouncer named Zero says today. But the cost has not disappeared. It has just been moved into a future version of your life, which is always the easiest person to assign homework to. Today gets the fun part. Click the button, test the app, feel responsible and financially elegant. Later gets the annoying part, remember the date, find the settings, decide if you still want it, and cancel before the timer turns into a receipt. That split is the whole trick. The trial wins the easy moment today, while the hard moment waits until your attention has wandered somewhere else. And once payment has been pushed into the future, the company does not need you to love the product forever. It only needs you to miss one deadline. And that missed deadline usually does not happen because you suddenly became a different, worse species of person. It happens because sign-up day and renewal day are emotionally not the same day. On sign-up day, the product is interesting, you might actually use it. You have intentions, you are basically a productivity influencer for 17 minutes. Then normal life resumes, which is rude but historically consistent. You use the thing once, maybe twice. The little trial icon gets buried under actual obligations, and the reminder email has to compete with receipts, updates, spam, and whatever brand is begging you to enjoy 12% off socks. This is not a niche problem. In one 2022 US survey, people guessed they spent $86 a month on subscriptions, but itemized spending came out to $219. That is $133 of, oh right, that still exists. The same survey found 74% said recurring subscription charges are easy to forget, and 42% had stopped using a service but forgot they were still paying. So the trial is not really betting against your intelligence. It is betting against your attention, and attention unfortunately has other plans. But forgetfulness is only half the machine, because sometimes you do remember. You open the app, find the account page, look for cancel, and suddenly the one-click miracle has developed a rich inner life. Researchers call this the Roach Motel pattern. Easy to get in, weirdly difficult to get out. No actual roaches required, horrible branding, excellent metaphor, and again, make no mistake, this does not mean every free trial is secretly a dungeon with a subscription logo on the wall. But regulators keep running into the same basic shape. Sign up is smooth, cancellation is slower, more confusing, or padded with extra steps. The FTC alleged Amazon's Prime cancellation flow pushed users through multiple pages of offers before the final exit. It sued Adobe over an annual paid monthly plan where it said the early termination fee was varied. Jeg settled FTC allegations that cancellation was extremely difficult. Uber One has faced similar FTC claims over cancel anytime promises. Different companies, different facts, same uncomfortable category. Because from the business side, cancellation is not just a neutral customer preference, it is a hole in the revenue bucket, and at that point, the story stops being about one annoying app and becomes a market-wide incentive. Every retained mistake can look like success on a chart, and from the company side, this is where the vocabulary gets suspiciously clean. They do not call it people forgot, they call it retention, which is basically the corporate spa version of the same sentence. And retention can come from very different places. Maybe you love the product, maybe it became a habit, maybe you forgot it existed, maybe canceling felt like escaping a government website designed by a raccoon with quarterly targets. On a revenue chart, all four can look the same, still paying. That is why one 2025 American Economic Review study is so revealing. It looked at what happens when cards get replaced and users have to actively renew payment. Suddenly, cancellations jump sharply because the spell breaks. The payment path stops being automatic, the customer has to look at the subscription again, and a lot of people apparently say, wait, why am I still paying for this? The same study estimated that cancellation friction roughly doubles seller revenue on average, even holding the number of initial subscribers fixed. So if friction can be worth that much, the obvious question is brutal. Why not just force cancellation to be as easy as sign up? So the obvious fix is almost insultingly simple. If you can join with a click, you should be able to leave with a click. Revolutionary stuff. Doors should open from both sides, please alert the philosophers. That was the basic idea behind the FTC's 2024 click-to-cancel rule. Cancellation should be as easy as enrollment, and if that sounds too reasonable to become a fight, do not get your hopes up too much. On July 8, 2025, the Eighth Circuit vacated the rule for procedural reasons, which is the legal system's way of saying, maybe the exit door is good, but first we must argue about the door paperwork. The point is not the regulation cannot help.